we did it again. Verizon was just named America's most reliable network by Root Metrics for the 16th time in a row, proving once again that nobody builds networks like Verizon builds networks. That's why we're building 5G right. That's why there's only one best network, Verizon. Best and most reliable based on Root Metrics reports from second half 2013 to first half 2021 of 3 operators on all network types combined, not specific to 5G networks.
Check out the latest footwear innovation from Adidas, the Adizero Adios Pro 2, which features carbon fiber energy rods that are both lightweight and precisely tuned for a more anatomical transition. Everything from the ultra-light polyester upper to the re-sculpted midsole and the reinvented outsoles are designed for speed. Visit adidas.com to learn more today.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
This is John Silver, lead recruiter of the Dark Order, and you are listening to All Things Elite.
Welcome to the 122nd episode of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. My name is Austin Sumwitz, and I am the host of this lovely show. Joining with me, as always, is my good buddy and friend, Floyd Johnson Jr. Man, how you doing?
Okay. So that is a difficult question for me, and I'm because my weekend was strange. So I worked my counterparts. My overnight counterpart was in the Dominican Republic, which is awesome, and so I worked for him all 3 days. So I haven't had a day off in like a long time, and then so that to work is tired. But on Saturday, I was able to go to a comic convention. What happened was I got some things for my birthday. I got meet and greets for my birthday for the comic convention, so pretty much going was fairly cheap for me, and I was able to get some of my pops signed. So I met Ray Fisher. He was Cyborg in the Justice League movie. He signed my Cyborg pop. He was very nice. Told him how awesome that I thought he was, and how much the extended version of Justice League was better than the first. I actually want to watch this extended version again after seeing him, because he was just seemed like a very nice, humble guy, very attractive man, you know. I'm just going to throw that out there. He's just like, hey, I can respect when somebody is a handsome person. He was very handsome. All right, then I got Stephen Amell. And then this is a little AEW related. Got to tell him how much I'm enjoying Heels, how much my wife enjoys Heels. He signed my Oliver Queen pop, and he signed it. You have failed this city, and he signed it, and it was a beautiful autograph. AEW related. He's been saying, if anyone's been paying attention, he's been saying he was going to be at Arthur Ashe this weekend. So, this week on Wednesday, he was going to be at Arthur Ashe. And I was like, so are you going to be coming down to the ring with Cody like you did at Revolution? And he's like, I will be there. I will be somewhere around the ring. So he was very clear not to say he would be Cody. And based on that, my gut feeling, I was like, please don't turn on Cody. So, and he was like, well, we'll see. So, wow. So he never answered, so this is not a spoiler. It just feels like he's going to turn on Cody Wednesday.
He's working you, bud.
He might be working me. He left me very much hanging. It was a very positive experience. Stephen Amell, I always say he's always like he's on cocaine because there's so much energy, and he's so happy to see you. It's just like, this can't be natural. He's a very awesome guy. So that was fun. Then I got photo ops with him. Then I got a photo ops with one of my favorite all-time movie series. You know, it's like Fast and Furious, and then it's Rocky. I love all the Rockies. Anytime any of them on, I can watch it. So I got to meet Carl Weathers, a.k.a. Apollo Creed. He was...
Wait, for real?
You didn't see the picture?
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, no. So I met Apollo Creed, and I got a picture. Got to do the boxing pose with him, and that was really cool. He was also on Happy Gilmore, and so I got to meet Apollo Creed, Carl Weathers. It was a dream come true. I would say the little kid in me was marking out, but literally every version of Floyd was marking out. And then got to do the little boxing pose, and he was just very nice, very personable. And so got to meet him. And then my last picture, it actually wasn't my last picture, it was actually my second picture, is I am a child of the 90s. I was born in 81, so my formative years were really in the 90s. And you know, before Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill, all that stuff, there was a teenage sitcom called Saved by the Bell. And there was this character named Zach Morris. Now, you want to talk about a mark for somebody. I literally wanted to be Zach Morris when I grew up. The timeout, he was the coolest person, all the schemes. Because you just think about it. I always said this when people would talk about Zach Morris's trash. Think about how intelligent you had to be to come up with all those schemes. You know, and, you know, most of them worked except for, like, you know, one failed thing on it, you know, which made sitcoms. But I love Zach. All the girls dated. He was like the one guy that literally dated every girl on the show at some point in time. So, loved me some Mark Paul Gosselaar. Then there was a show as I got older called Franklin and Bash. If you haven't seen it, it was on TNT. Go watch it. Check it out. It's one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. Him and Breckin Meyer, they have this amazing chemistry. But yes, so MPG, Zach Morris is personality, so I got to meet him, and that was great. I didn't buy his pop, so I didn't do the autograph thing with him, but he's been doing more signings, so I'll probably get him on the next time he's around. So it was just really cool. I got to meet, like, childhood heroes and, you know, get pictures with them, and, you know, and it was great. And he was just as nice and as personable as I hoped he would be. And yeah, it was awesome. So that was great. So I got off work Saturday morning at 7:00. My friend picked me up at 8. We drove to Dallas, which is about 3 hours. I literally slept the whole way because I'd been up all night. Took a bang, drank a bang, then did all the meet and greets. We got out at about 5:30. 5:30. I asked a friend to work an extended shift for me. So then I got home. I was supposed to be here by 10 to start my shift. I literally walked in the house at 9:57. So pretty much went straight to work. Then worked from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. Then 10 a.m. I slept a few hours, got up, and this is where people call me stupid. I only get 18 weeks of football, so I didn't want to miss it. So I woke up I slept about 4 hours so I could watch me some of the afternoon football. And then I took a nap before I had to be back at work. And then I worked from 7 p.m. last night to 7 a.m. this morning.
And how was that football experience for you?
This was literally, and this is what I was going to say. I'll say it's kind of a mixed bag. It was the shittiest week of football ever. My Florida State Seminoles lost to Wake Forest and are 0-3 since the first time since 1976. I was not born in 1976, so I literally never experienced Florida State being 0-3. It just never happened in my whole life as a Florida State fan. And it was a week for never happens. Fantasy football, I had been saying all week that I was going to put Derek Carr in instead of Jameis Winston. But I just told you how my schedule was. I never checked my fantasy league, so I never put him in. Jameis Winston, all-time bad game. pretty much what happens after someone throws a 5 touchdown game. They generally come back to earth the next game. It's just statistics.
Unless that person's Tom Brady.
Yeah, it's just statistics, right? But literally no one has ever thrown 5 touchdowns 2 games in a row. Just literally has never happened. So, I knew I should start Derek Carr. I didn't. Jameis Winston, all-time bad game. The guy I was going to put in Derek Carr got 42 fantasy points, and I literally only lost my game because I didn't put Derek Carr in. All well. Then, Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes been with Kansas City starter for 4 years or 3 years, 4 years. He had never lost a game in September. We had started 4-0 like 5 seasons in a row, right? Never lost a game in September. Never thrown an interception in September. He did both of those things. He threw an interception, and we were in control of the game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbled, and we lost. So for my first time in my fandom as Chiefs fan, this is the first time Patrick Mahomes has lost the game in September. Literally a bunch of firsts happened this week, and it was just, it was super shitty football weekend for me. So it's like, but a lot of good things happened, rough things happened. I got to spend time with a friend I hadn't spent time with in long. That was a good thing. So I'm going to look at things, proclivity for positivity. I'm just going to call it a positive weekend.
All right, and I'll move quickly through mine, actually. When it comes to football, I'll wrap this up real quick. I got my revenge with my fantasy league that I should have won last week. I won by well over 60 points, and thank you, Aaron Jones, for that. And in my other leagues, however, I did not win very well because Dak Prescott had a bad game, and I went up against Derrick Henry in one of the leagues, so that didn't go well. In all 4 of my fantasy leagues, including the one that I don't even pay attention to, I just signed up for an ESPN Plus sweepstakes for it. I am 1-1, so at least I'm on even playing fields with all of them. My Vikings blew another game that they should have won. I'm used to it at this point. It's infuriating, but I can't even bother with it. The Lions got dragged back to earth with the fact that they got beaten very bad by an angry Green Bay team. So the rebuild is going to continue to be hard on us for this first year. Hopefully, I'm already looking forward to just some progress towards next year. And I didn't go to a convention, but I did get recently shipped to me. I have a signed Bad Habits single CD from Mr. Ed Sheeran. It is the first and only thing I currently have signed by him, and he's one of my favorite artists of all time. So having something signed by him is amazing. I also have, when the album comes out, an Equals album signed by him as well coming, so I'm very excited for that. But that was my weekend for the most part. I'm going to see Shang-Chi tomorrow, too, so that'll be fun. But
that movie's amazing, so I'm glad you will get to see it and enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm seeing it with my sister, too, so that'll be fun. But we got a lot to talk about. So we have Dynamite and Rampage, of course, to get through, which had some good moments and had some moments that we'll talk about, too. And then, of course, we've got AEW GrandSlam to be getting.
Yeah, we got to do our predictions, man. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
And holy shit, this weekend. This week of AEW for GrandSlam. We'll get to all of that coming up next. But first, we got to make sure you guys are downloading this fine show on Google or Apple Podcasts. If you listen to us on Spotify or any other podcasting platforms, give us a share with your friends, family, coworkers, whoever you wish. It means the world to us if you do. You can leave a rating and a review. Let us know how we're doing. And if you're so inclined, you can leave a donation through our podcast provider, Red Circle. But the easiest way for you guys to support us is on social media. We are at AT Elite Pod on Twitter. At Social Suplex are the guys that make this show possible, and they also have a bunch of other great shows you should check out from their network, so check those out. I am at Austin Sumowitz, SZUMOWICZ, and Floyd is at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. Now, of course, the big news of the week is the countdown to AEW GrandSlam, which I think I'm fair because I think our preview will just be our predictions. I think it's fair to just run through all the matches that have been announced for that show because we're just going to predict what's going to happen for the shows. So I'm just going to run through all the matches because honest to God, dude, they just threw as it was happening on Dynamite and they were just running through everything. I was like, holy fucking shit. Are you done yet? So we got MJF versus Brian Pillman on Dynamite. These are all on Dynamite. MJF versus Brian Pillman. FTR versus Darby Allen and Sting. Britt Baker, Ruby Soho women's title match. Cody Rhodes returns versus Malachi Black. Spoiler alert, I'm sorry. Bryan Danielson gets a match against Kenny Omega, not for the championship, but still, it's his first match in AEW. CM Punk will be interviewed, and moving to Rampage, Anna Jay will be facing Penelope Ford. CM Punk faces Powerhouse Hobbs. Jericho teams with Jake Hager to face Men of the Year. The Super Click teams up in a 6-man tag match to face Christian and Jurassic Express. Lucha Bros and Proud and Powerful team to face the Hardy Family Office, Private Party, and Butcher and the Blade. And Lance Archer and Minoru Suzuki team up to face John Moxley and Eddie Kingston. Jesus Christ. Like, this, Floyd tweeted this out. This is literally a pay-per-view card that they spread over 2 weeks at one and on a Dynamite and a Rampage. So that alone is going to be insanity. Before we get into Dynamite itself, Floyd, just when they were just throwing out all the matches, man, like what was going through your mind just seeing all these matches just being thrown on free television?
So, hold on. First of all, don't call it free television because I just got a cable bill and I paid it. It's not free. Not free at all. I'm always confused when people call it free. It may be included in what I paid for, but it's not free. So, shout out to AEW because there is a group of, there is a thought process out there that once you sell out an arena, a lot of people will throttle down what they had planned because, we already sold the tickets. There's nothing. They rewarded people for selling out Grand Slam or selling a lot of tickets. It's not sold out, but over 18,000 tickets sold. It's as good as a sellout. It was sold out and then they added more tickets. So the thing of wrestling thought is let's hold back. They've already sold the tickets no matter. These dudes said, you know what? We're going to absolutely reward you for doing this, for selling this many tickets. So they get this big ass show, and it's like, for me, fucking Dynamite's good enough. I mean, I get Cody, I get FTR, my favorite, against Sting, I get Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho, and then I get a dream match. You get Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. Like, if you look at if you care about Dave Meltzer's fan vote that he does, you're talking about Wrestler of the Year, Technician of the Year, every year for if you look at the last 10 years, you see their names a lot. Just put it that way. And we get to see them wrestle. And it's going to be amazing. It's an A+ card. A+ card. Not even close. If anybody says, it's like, I'm just saying you're just being a hater at this point. This is a pay-per-view card. They could have put this on Saturday and charged $49.99 and got 200,000 buys easily.
Yeah, no question about it.
You're getting this on cable. I promise you, and this has nothing to do with anything. I think they're going to get 2 million on Wednesday.
I believe it.
I think they're going to hit 2 million on Wednesday. And let's just say they go, to me, I think it's a given that they're going to break the first Dynamite. I think it's going to be over the first Dynamite. But yeah, 2 million is like, it's that they're impossible. And it's just like, I want to tell everybody, if they get 2 million, if you have cable and you watch it through a legal way, make sure you're watching the show. Because if they hit that number, you will get more shows like this.
No question about it, man. And yeah, it's going to be an insane night. And we're going to get to our predictions for Grand Slam after we cover this week's AEW TV shows. So we'll get to that down the road in this podcast. And also, I forgot to mention this in my week. Despite my Lions losing, I did put a $50 bet on TJ Hawkinson scoring a touchdown in the game that got boosted by FanDuel. So I made $250. So that's a good sign too. Anyways, moving away from that, we go into AEW Dynamite. First off, my boy, CM Punk. He was a special guest commentator for the show. He comes down and he does commentary, and he's obviously done commentary for CFFC, so we know he can do that. And if his WWE tenure has shown us anything, he is good on commentary. Lest we forget, he spilled my diet soda. But kicking off the show was the in-ring AEW debut of Adam Cole, baby, facing off against the Elite Hunter, Frankie Kazarian. And hell of a freaking singles match to start off with, too, because, I mean, I have nothing but great things to say about Frankie. He's always been consistently good. Honest to God, man, this Elite Hunter thing that he's been doing, I just really like, considering of SCU splitting off with Scorpio being heel and CD being gone for a while. I like what Frankie's been doing, and I think Frankie's just really freaking good. This match was a great opener. You got some great opening wrestling, and it was a great opening singles match too. A lot of times with Dynamite, you'll tend to get a little bit more of like either tag team, high flying, like spot fest stuff, or you'll get like a 6-man match or sometimes to kick things off. We actually got a singles match to start off Dynamite, which happens a good amount of times, but not as much as I personally would like. And since it was the debut of Adam Cole, makes all the sense in the world. And we got a Panama Sunrise. It was awesome. Adam Cole got the win, and it was just really freaking great. And it's just I'm so excited Adam Cole's in AEW. I've been buzzing about it because I've gone back and watched a lot of his matches from NXT TakeOver history, and I'm just like, dude, this guy's so fucking good still. I'm like, he's not even like in his prime yet, I think. And he's still in his prime, I would say, actually. And he's in AEW, and he's got so much talent to work with, and it's just, I'm overjoyed with it. I still love Frankie. I would like to see Frankie get like, I don't know. I want Frankie to actually, because I mean, he does great stuff of like breaking things up with the Elite, but like I want him to actually get wins against members of the Elite, so that way he could be a little bit more, I guess, threatening to the Elite, because I guess it just seems like he's just their thorn in their side. So I would like to see Frankie be a little bit more intimidating, I guess, with the with like actual damage to the Elite with him getting wins. But that's just I think that's more of a nitpick, honestly. But still, after the match was over, Adam Cole gets on mic, does story time with Adam Cole, baby, and he's only been here for a short time, and there's already 3 people that have gotten under his skin: Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy. So how about at Rampage Grand Slam, Adam Cole and the Young Bucks Super Click reunites to face those 3. So that was the announcement of this match, which alone was just like, god damn, what a match. So Floyd, going to you on this one.
All right, so you stole my point. That's why we don't talk before the show. Yeah, I want Frankie to win. He's just I wouldn't call him a jobber because he's competitive in every match. It's not like he gets dominated, but he does lose like every time. So I really would like to see him pick up a fan fall. Maybe it's Nick or Matt in a singles match, which they're not used to. I just want them to be more formidable when it comes to fighting against the Elite. This match is great. It's just a solid wrestling match. Frankie Kazarian drinks from the fountain of youth. I don't understand like why he isn't almost booked better, because he's so talented. You know what I mean? But I know there's a hierarchy. Not everybody can win every match. So, sure, yeah. But this was a very competitive, talented match. He made Adam Cole look like a god in his first match, because he did. I mean, the crowd helped it out because this crowd was freaking hot. But yeah, definitely a good match. I really liked it. It was a great debut for Adam Cole. He didn't beat nobody. He beat someone with talent, and we got to see the Panama Sunrise. We got to see the last shot. You know, he hit all the notes.
Yeah, he did. We then had a short video package with the AEW Tag Team Champions Lucha Bros accepting a challenge for the titles from Butcher and Blade. So that would be on Rampage this Friday. So it will be in Rampage when we get to cover that. So, and then we also had another match that was announced for Rampage, which was Tony Schiavone being backstage with Fuego del Sol and Sammy Guevara. Fuego once again deciding to challenge the TNT champion to a match. And Fuego, in order to get a shot at the TNT title, put his car on the line. And interesting tactic. I guess Miro would be interested in taking away a car from Fuego and just beating the living lights out of him again. Fuego, to me, this was a scrappy-do move. Like, you got your ass kicked once, you got a contract. Are you hoping that you get your ass kicked again and then, like, what? Like, you find yourself, like, with $10,000 at your bedside the next morning? I don't know what you're trying to accomplish with this, but this is a mistake and a half. But regardless, this match was announced on Rampage too.
I want to be clear that no one in the world, this is what happens when you treat your fans well, and you're going to get what I'm saying. If this was done somewhere else, people were like, it's so ridiculous. You know he's not actually losing his car. Oh my God, why are they doing this tired-ass trope? But in AEW, everybody bought in. Oh my God, he's going to lose his car. Everyone knows he's not going to actually lose his car. But oh my God, they bought in because they treat you well, so you reward them by playing along. You know what I mean? Yeah. And everybody treated that match as, you know, we're going to get to the match later, but everybody treated this stipulation like this is the most important thing. I saw messages like, did you clear this with your wife? What is she going to think when you lose your car? And all that kind of stuff. And, Fuego's playing like, hey, I'm going to have to win, and it was just such a great moment. And it's just such a different experience when you watch AEW as opposed to another program, that there's this 100% buy-in from the fans that
fans want to be a part of it.
Yeah, we're going to make it work. We're going to make it work because there is going to be a payoff on this. I'm going to talk about another match where, after we review the other match, where I think this is leading because I think it's obvious, but it's just, like I said, it's a different experience when you're on Twitter and you're on social media with other AEW fans. It's a completely different experience than when you're watching another program.
Yeah. Moving on, though, we had MJF, who caused a lot of stir on the previous episode of Dynamite. Once again, back in the ring with Wardlow. He talks about crying Brian again, and he lays into to the state of New Jersey, and he talks about to the viewers at home, like, I know some of my comments last week might have offended you, and I just want you to know I don't care. So he continues to go after Brian Pillman and attack his. He continues to attack Metheny, and he also was like, I'm going to have a conversation with the late, great Brian Pillman. So he looks up and goes, Mr. Brian, who am I kidding? Looks straight down and slams on the mat and goes, yo, Brian, get your ass up. And just proceeds to say, you need to tell your son that if he shows up in that awful place known as Queens, I'm going to massacre him. He is like just, these last 2 weeks, he's been healing it up like nonstop. Like, this has been like heavy duty heel stuff that MJF's been doing, and it's been great. He tries to finish off saying he's better than you and you know it. Brian Pillman Jr. comes out and he interrupts it, and he jumps from behind him, like coming down with the steel chair, which MJF quickly runs away. And Pillman goes, when I left that arena last week, you humiliated me because of what you said about my family. So next week, I'm going to get the chance to whip your ass. And he was interviewed by Jim Ross, and he said, like, you were fed by a silver spoon. I was fighting for my life. We are not the same. You're not stepping in the ring with any man on September 22nd at Arthur Ashe. You're stepping in the ring with a Pillman. So great way to sell this match. Classic babyface versus heel singles match, like plucky Brian Pillman Jr., Varsity Blonde himself versus the dickhead MJF. It just works, and I'm very excited for this match.
MJF is on another level than everybody with promos. Like, I don't think there's anyone that cuts a passionate promo better than Eddie Kingston. I just think
But you mean MJF?
No. I was saying a passionate promo better than Eddie Kingston.
Other than Eddie Kingston, yeah.
Yes, like a passionate promo other than Eddie Kingston. Him and Cody are on their own level when it comes to passion. Then there's these fired up promos that you can get from Jon Moxley, like I'm going to kick your ass. I'm just going through the different kinds. But MJF, pure heel promo. I would argue him and Jay White are the only two like truly pure heels in wrestling. Like,
I can look at that, yeah.
If you try to cheer them, they are going to stop you right then and say something so foul that you can only help but boo. And they're so good at being heel, it has almost went to a level of respect in their hate. So you're always going to boo them because you know what they're trying to do. But MJF in a heel promo, God level. I'm talking... The only people you can compare his MJF's heel promo ability with are all-time greats. Like Roddy Piper, like Brian Pillman, like Ric Flair. You have to go to that level because he is so good. He is a phenom when it comes to cutting promos. And it's just, when he destroyed it, he says stuff that like literally makes what Max Caster say look tame. But because he's so good and because he's such an artist, people know what he's doing and they just play along. And it's performance art at its best. And this man is an artiste. I love him. The Brian Pillman, because of the dark side of the ring, he has a lot of energy behind him. He's kind of the perfect, like, kind of holdover opponent to make MJF even look more heel. So I am really looking forward to this, and I thought this segment was kind of perfect.
Yeah, it was honestly really, really good. We then had a backstage segment with Christian Cage and Jurassic Express accepting the challenge from Adam Cole, which really amounted just the only thing that came from this that we need to really talk about is how Christian said, hey, we accept your challenge, Adam. You're already used to losing the Wednesday Night Wars, so let's just add Friday to that. So, bam, on that note.
His friends dragged him out of developmental. He also said that, which I thought was fucking epic.
Yeah,
there was some very personal promos this week.
Yeah, we'll get to more of those too coming down the line. But we then had a tag match with Dante Martin and Matt Sydal, two high flyers versus FTR. So this match was another really good match. You got two high flyers. Now, they're not a team per se, but they are two high flyers that have a lot of skill, that have just had really good matches too. FTR was going to walk all over them in terms of tag team wrestling, but Dante Martin got height that I don't know how a human being can get in a wrestling match. Like, he was literally, I love the photo of him just in the air and his head is cut off because he's so high that he's not even in frame. And they did really, really good. I know Matt Sydal is kind of just like, people know who he is, but they don't really, I think the big thing with the Sydals is just people don't really have an opinion on them necessarily. And that's a shame because I think Matt Sydal is really good, and I think his brother is also great. But they're basically they're kind of like a babyface, like Young Bucks right now, but just with a little less character. So I think if they had a little bit more of a character-driven storyline, people could probably buy into them a little bit more. Dante, people just buy into because he's like done some insane shit. People are 100% just behind what he's been doing. But yeah, Dax and Cash got the win on this match. They pinned Dante, actually, which was the surprise. I thought they were going to pin Matt. But it was another big win for FTR, continuing to build things up since Cash's scare injury. But it's your boys, Floyd. So how are you feeling FTR's been doing recently?
Oh, I mean, they're the best tag team in the world, best tag team in the planet. And again, I will always say this. I was born in 1981, so my idea of what tag team wrestling is a little bit different than most people's idea of tag team wrestling. When you're a good heel tag team, you got to do a lot of the simple things really, really well because you're not trying to get the crowd behind you, right? So you're not trying to, do double drop kicks or doomsday devices or anything to pop the crowd. So you got to work the arm, work the leg, do suplexes, keep the good guys from doing anything exciting so you can build to their exciting spots. I don't think there's anybody better in the world at that than FTR. Like if you talk about them, you'll be like, well, their job, you'll pull out their great matches and you'll be like, well, there's American Alpha, and then there's DIY, and then when they were in WWE, and then there was the Young Bucks and Adam Page and Kenny Omega. And people will be like, well, the other people were the highlights of the match. Well, you got to think about wrestling as a dance to a point. When you think about it as a dance, you got, you only look good is if I make you look good, and I think FTR is amazing at making the other teams look good. And it's going to be something that most fans are not going to look at. I think in this match with Dante and Matt Sydal, for the time on their offense, they looked amazing until it was time to lose, until it was time to get booed. And FTR did a wonderful job. And, Martin is a freakish athlete. He's a legit athlete that happens to be a professional wrestler. So, I think him and Mark Quinn, they're on that level of athletic that it's just hard to even call what they do. He got so high on that it was like I don't know if it's safe because, people have to catch you and you're so high. And it was a great moment, great match. I just think FTR is great.
Yeah, no kidding. We then had a backstage segment with Lance Archer and Minoru Suzuki talking about Moxley and Eddie Kingston and how you had everything going in your favor, Moxley, in Cincinnati, but it's in New York, so you and Eddie Kingston are going to find out what strong style is all about. Great way to sell that match. We then had Malachi Black come out. He was in the ring, and he goes, "Members of the House of Black, please rise, for we have an enemy in our midst." And for some fucking reason, Rosario Dawson, off of the Go Big show, was sitting in the front row with a nightmare jacket, and she was just completely staring down Malachi Black, and she was just talking a whole bunch of shit and just like not backing down. And coming down from the ramp, coming down from the staircase, is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. First off, Dustin, I need you to realize your brother values Rosario Dawson more than he values you, apparently. So,
sir, he was in a bubble in the Go Big show when Dustin got beat up. Thank you.
Sure, whatever. Whatever you want to say about that, but I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just saying.
No, I completely understand, but I was
spade a spade.
I'm just saying we got to take all into consideration here, and because who was at the show, Rosario, and you know what, she's on also the Go Big show. So if she's out the bubble, Cody's out the bubble, and that's how it works, So
whatever you say. Anyways, the American.
And I'm just saying he also busted his brother open and got his blood all over him in the match. So they got a kind of
they're fine with that. Man.
They have a strange relationship, sir.
Weren't you the one that said the one person that gets Cody to come back that gets beat up is Dustin?
Yeah, but I forgot about Rosario Dawson. She's so hot.
I think no one even remembered Rosario Dawson.
She's so hot.
You're not lying.
I'm like, good Lord.
But regardless,
yes.
As Cody's coming down the steps to save him, Rosario Dawson jumps on the back of Malachi Black, which that's a move and a half to make. Then Cody immediately goes after Malachi Black. They start fighting up the stands, and they just start beating the living shit out of each other, and they just kept fighting. Like Tony literally said, they're probably going to fight all the way to the Arthur Ashe Stadium, and that's just a really good line. And yeah, Cody's back, and he will be facing Malachi Black at Arthur Ashe Stadium for AEW Dynamite.
Yeah, this was a great segment. Like, not all time, but great. It was like battling through the crowd, up the steps. He came out of the crowd for some reason. That made no sense, but who cares? I love it. in his all red because he's not the if you looking at the symbolism, Aleister Black is still in black. Cody, every time they had fought, he had been in white, right?
Yes.
He's in red, right? Because he sees red,
And he changed his Instagram and Twitter photo to just flames.
So this is the fiery Cody. This is not that white meat baby face, root for me, I'm going to kiss your babies. This is angry Cody. He's wearing the red because he has got this fire, and he took it to Aleister Black. Like in every other contact with them, or Malachi, I keep calling him Aleister. Malachi Black clearly was like the dominant force. He ended up winning the battle, but this was even because Cody was so much more fire. I just thought this was, if you're just paying attention, the nerds paying attention, this was something for the nerds to see if you would notice that. And it was great. I like the fight. I'm looking forward to the match Wednesday.
Yeah, it's going to be really great. So Floyd's boy Cody is back, so we can celebrate with that. Moving on, Dan Lambert's here, and he has Junior Dos Santos, Andrea Arlovsky, Paige Van Zandt, and Kayla Harrison. So all the types of MMA people, as well as the Men of the Year. He calls the AEW fans morons. He says he's like Bobby Heenan. Well, Punk said he's like Bobby Heenan if he wore a wardrobe full of affliction, which made me die of laughter. So thank you, Punk, for that great line. I appreciate that. He just continues to run down the fans, but then Judas plays, and then Dan just screamed for them to cut that shit off, which also I appreciate the Botchamania clip of how many times in this episode of Dynamite the word shit was said.
How many times was it?
Let me go find the video because I know that it was like well over 12. I think.
Yeah, and let me say this. It was said so much, Chucky T then tweeted that he no longer cares about it. Was a gimmick for like 2 years. He can't wait to get to say shit on TNT. But it was said so much, he says he no longer cares about saying shit on.
Yeah, it's been taken away, dude. Like it's been said too many times. So yeah, let's see. A total of, I believe, 14 times. Yeah, 14 times.
Shit, that's a lot. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a shit
ton. It's just crazy. I remember when shit, like it was a few years ago, it was like season 3 or 4 of Suits. There was a show on USA, and they kind of lifted the kind of restriction on shit. You could use it during prime time on cable TV, not network TV, but on cable TV. And Suits was like literally they just like every other thing where you would cuss. If you would say the F word or any other word, they would use shit instead. So it made for a lot of awkward cussing. And that was the time that I realized. I was like, oh wow, they must have lifted like kind of the embargo on shit. But yeah, AEW was like, we got a show to sell next week. Tony was like, go for it. If they find me, I got it. Because they sold the shit out of that show with the word shit.
Yeah, very much so. But so Dan Lambert talks about, like, I'm surprised you're defending these fans. You'll do anything you can to get these dipshits to spend their allowance on your stupid Fozzy albums. And Jericho does not he's not scared by a bunch of MMA people. So he's been in fights with MMA people in backstage, like that reference. So he's like, why not? How about me and Big Jake come down and knock those chipmunk teeth down your throat? And he's like, Lambert's like, it's not going to happen in this dump of a city if anything goes down. It's going to happen in the Big Apple. So they announced Jericho and Hager versus Men of the Year. So that was the announcement of this. And it was a shit-filled segment, but just not in the way that you think.
Dan Lambert is excellent. I mean, he is an 80s manager living in 2021. He is the voice of Jim Cornette without, just saying, hey, I'm just saying exactly what Jim Cornette was saying. He did it all. He was great. He's a heel. I see so many people get this guy off my screen, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, there you go. He does it perfectly because that's the reaction that you want.
100%. We then had a singles match between Jade Cargill and legit Layla Hirsch. And Layla did a pretty good job in this match, I would say. I think there might have been a couple spots that were a little bit, we had a couple of little spots that might have been able to be fine-tuned a little bit better. But I still think this was a good match. Jade Cargill continues to be undefeated. And Layla did well in this, I think. And it was a good test, I think, for Jade to go a little bit longer with somebody. But in the end, Jade would still get the win, and it was a solid match. I think it was fine. It was fine enough. Yeah,
I completely agree. It showed that Jade is green. It showed that there's a lot of people pushing her to be world champion now. I'm thinking she needs about a year. I think she needs a couple of really good feuds where she works longer in the ring, because this was the longest she's ever been in the ring, and you saw it. You saw it in the length of time that she was in the ring. I love Jade Cargill. I do. I think she is can be the future of the wrestling business. I think she can take the women's division to the next level, but she has to be ready. And right now she's not ready, but it was a really solid match. She got a big win, and we move on from there. But people kind of are impatient these days, and it's just the best steaks are allowed to marinate and age for a while. It takes patience to get a great steak. Wine takes patience. With Jade Cargill, she's going to take them to the next level. But like those things, you're going to have to let it wait. You're going to have to let it age perfectly. Let her learn how to tell stories as a wrestler. Then when you have that big moment, when you build to that big match, the spotlight won't be too big. There won't be botches, and it'll be perfect, and it'll do what you want to do, just like it did with Britt Baker. Britt Baker was the face of the women's division. She wasn't ready when the AEW first launched to be that face. When she won the title at Double or Nothing, no one can tell me if there wasn't a big enough moment, because they took their time, they waited, and they built the perfect moment. They will do the same with Jade.
All right, well, moving on. It's my boy. It's CM Punk. He's at the commentating desk still, and Taz rears his little head and starts screaming at Punk, saying, "Are you trying to take my job?" Which Punk's first response was seeing Taz was, "Oh, I didn't realize the troll got let under the bridge." Punk was like, "I'm not trying to take your job," and just sees Hook. He starts staring down Hook, and Taz, who's screaming, he gets out of his seat. And then coming from behind like a bat out of hell is Powerhouse Hobbs, who just completely steamrolls him. Hook then puts a dragon sleeper on him, and then they start beating up on Punk again. Then Powerhouse Hobbs takes Punk over to the broadcast table and power slams him. And yeah, it was a nightmare. It wasn't even a power slam. He literally no, it was a power slam, yeah. And the table didn't even budge. Punk just completely went flat on that table, and it just tilted backwards onto him. And yeah, that was Punk has to kill Powerhouse Hobbs now. So
CLL, the world seems to be falling slowly in love with the man they call Hook. Yeah. Even in the video, when they showed the Punk versus, Hook has gear now, and it looks like we're not too far away from Hook wrestling. What if Hook's first match is against CM Punk?
That's a hell of a debut.
But yeah, he's making people feel some feelings. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Hold on, just a second.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to Punk himself being in a match with Powerhouse Hobbs, who has done well, okay in AEW, but I think hasn't had a moment that he could really fully shine. And I think a match against Punk will do a lot for Powerhouse Hobbs, I think. But I think we can move on real quick. We had Darby Allin facing off against the chairman, Shawn Spears, who has kind of a bit of a new taste on his entrance. Instead of just being in total silence with him sitting in his chair, it had like a little bit of like a whistle sound going along with it, and then his normal theme would start back up. So yeah, Darby Allin and Shawn Spears went one-on-one. These guys killed it. This was such a good match. Like, I love these two guys in general, and they just done so many great things. I love Shawn Spears just grabbing a towel and just rubbing the paint off of Darby Allin's face. It's just such a great heel tactic. This is a really, really good match. Darby's leg was being worked on a ton by Shawn, and it was a good little bit right there. Darby nearly got hit with the C4 on the ring steps, but he got out of it, and Darby proceeds to just crash into him, hit the coffin drop, get the win on Shawn Spears. But then FTR, Pinnacle members, jump Darby Allin, and then Sting is also there, and he's getting brawled with, and he gets involved in it. Tully gets hit in the back of the head with a chair by Tully. Tully hits Sting in the back of the head with a chair. My apologies. Sting then no-sells it, tries to go back after Tully, and then FTR comes after him, and then Tully grabs the towel, and he wipes Sting's face paint off. So this would set up the match that was announced, FTR versus Sting and Darby, which I'm so excited for. But I love this match. I thought this match was really good. I just love Shawn and Darby. I think they're both really good. And I really like this match.
Yeah, I love it. Shawn Spears has the best interest music for someone that is
I love his theme.
Booked at his level. Like, he's booked at a certain level, obviously, and some people hate him for it, some people love him for it, but his music is a banger. Play it loud, and it is like, oh my God, it hits so hard. It's such a cool entrance, and he has that little slow walk with it, and Tully strutting behind him. I just think it's perfect. Then we have, Darby and Sting, and Darby's just straightforward coming at you, and it was such a good, contrast of styles. They work really, really well together. Again, I'm not going to do this toot Shawn Spears horn again, because by this time you should know how good this man is. The match was great, and then after the match, we get the Horseman moment. Oh, God, the 1985-86 in my belly was bubbling up because Dax and Cash, a.k.a. Arn and Tully, they attacking Sting. This is literally my childhood, happening right now, and they take off the paint to show people, they might come off as monsters, but they're just men, and it was just such a good moment. My boys FTR being featured. I'm like, we're going to get FTR versus Sting and Darby. There's no way our FTR shouldn't win that match. I know we're not doing previews yet, but I will be pissed if that happens, because they are the best tag team in the world. I do want to point out, I didn't get to point this out earlier. So I changed my name. What did I? You remember? I changed my name pretty much the day after Bobby Eaton died, and I decided this was going to be my moniker going forward, because I had changed my Twitter profile name a lot, and I was told it's hard to keep up with. So I'm at Floyd and Austin Jr., but my name on the top always goes. So I changed it to FTR Express. Hashtag FTR Express, Midnight Express, FTR. I put them together, right? I was like, man, I'm being really, really clever. So it's been that. When I met them, I was FTR Express. They've liked, retweeted all stuff under that name, right? So on Saturday night, I'm riding back from the thing, and what do I see? Is Dax posts a bunch of pictures of them, and they title the thing FTR Express. And I'm like, and then everybody's like going on, and they're like tagging. I love that name, and I'm like, I had that name first.
Yeah, I should get a cut of royalties, right?
I'm like, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna get FTR Express shirt." I'm like, are we gonna get an FTR Express shirt?
Because I'm quite curious about that.
I am quite curious, because I know they have liked and retweeted me under this name. They know, They might not know it's me, but they have seen it. You know what I mean? And it was like, I don't want anything. I absolutely don't want anything. If they just tagged me and say, hey, he created the name, I'd be like, I'd die.
Yeah, that's all the royalties you need.
This show would be over because I would die. Like,
that's a shame.
I was like, yes, that's what would happen if that happened. I just thought that was such a cool story because I was like, I remember coming up with it. Now, let me say this. They've been FTR a while. They're Big Night Express fans. So to say they might not have thought of using the name FTR Express long before I came up with the name, come on. That's obvious. It was so obvious to me. They had to think of it a long time before me. It was just, I kind of used it first. So like I said, it would just be cool. Hey, shout out a nod, the homie nod, whatever. That's our guy. I of course got some awesome pictures with him. So I don't really need anything, but it was just cool that they used it. And then it was like everybody was popping for it. And I'm like, hey, I kind of came up with that. But I really, like I said, there's no way to know if they had not thought of it before. It's really, really obvious. I am basically saying that, but I just loved it. I loved it. It was that moment.
Yeah.
Annie had an earache on a Saturday of all days. So her mom brought her to Minute Clinic at CVS, where you can see a provider, fill a prescription, and grab essentials like pain relief products, all in one visit. Even on evenings and weekends. You can even see us online with telehealth options. For quality, affordable care on your schedule, visit Minute Clinic at CVS. That's healthier made easier. Services vary by location. See MinuteClinic.com for details.
Check out the latest footwear innovation from Adidas, the Adizero Adios Pro 2, which features carbon fiber energy rods that are both lightweight and precisely tuned for a more anatomical transition. Everything from the ultra-light polyester upper to the re-sculpted midsole and the reinvented outsoles are designed for speed. Visit adidas.com to learn more today.
Because JR's name is FTR Express, too. He has a member of the FTR Express on his name.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I just thought that was pretty awesome.
It was a pretty cool moment. We then had an in-ring interview with the American Dragon, Brian Danielson. Before he could even say much, Don Callis and Kenny Omega come out, which Kenny was had a white shirt of his own, and he had his shirt, like he was biting the bottom of his shirt and had it lifted above, so he was showing his abs, and it was just the most ridiculous shit I've ever seen. Don Callis called Brian Danielson the hippie millionaire, a sanctimous son of a bitch, and man, it's like, it must have been a difficult decision to join AEW for you, the company that was built on the back of Kenny Omega, and it was just because he wanted to help the industry, but people call me a carny son of a bitch. Kenny told me that he knows how you think, and you really believe this, so it just makes you a mark. And Don Callis immediately gets shut up by Brian Danielson, calls him a piece of shit, and someday this will be about the world title, but right now let's just see who's better. Let's give the people the dream match, Kenny Omega versus Brian Danielson. And I didn't want to talk to this Kenny Omega. I wanted to fight the best bout machine, the god of pro wrestling. This guy is a guy who hangs out with a bunch of stooges who lets guys talk for him. So the rumors are you've lost your confidence, you've lost a step, and I think you've just lost your ball. So yes or no? Kenny goes, you want to fight best bout machine? You want to fight god of pro wrestling? My answer is yes. And we get that next week on Dynamite GrandSlam. Fucking yes. The first match we get to see with Brian Danielson in AEW is against Kenny Omega. It's like, and it's not even for the championship. So we're going to get the championship bout down the road, but we get to see Kenny Omega versus Brian Danielson. Like, come the fuck on, man. Like, this is just so great. I can't, nothing bad to say about this segment.
I mean, there is nothing bad to say about this segment. It's like, give the people what they want here. Even if you didn't know you wanted it, there you go. You still got it. There is like I if anybody has something negative to say about getting this, I don't know. It's just like
what will please you.
You're like, do you not like wrestling? I mean, it's cool if you don't, but this is it. This is it. It's like
we love wrestling, and we're eating here right now. We're eating tonight.
Dude. Like, I agreed to work for my friend this week, and now that this is happening, it's like the worst decision of my life. Because I'm like, even if I can't be there, I wanted to be like off work so I could just focus on the show. So I have to kind of watch the show and focus on it, not focus on it. But man, like, Wednesday is going to be amazing. They could have gave us 5 filler matches, 5 basically AEW dark matches, and then this match, it would still be an A+ show.
No kidding. But we'll get to the main event of Dynamite right now. It's Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley versus 2.0, Matt Lee and Jeff Parker. First off, I have to say, and I will only just say this real quick before we get into the match. I made a joke a while ago with the debut of NXT 2.0, which, there we go. It was the first episode of the new branding. I'm excited to see at least what comes of it. I will not say anything more on the matter, but I made a joke saying, sorry, but the only 2.0 I care about at this point was Matt Lee and Jeff Parker, and I tweeted out the picture of them being all elite, and I got some marks mad. So, sorry.
It was amusing because it's so funny that it's how Twitter works, and I'll never understand this logic. Someone says something you don't like, right? So I'm going to comment, retweet, so everybody that I know sees that you said something I don't like. Do you know what I do when I see something I don't like on Twitter? Keep scrolling. Yeah, because I'm not going to signal boost it. And it's just like, I saw it, and I saw what you said. I thought it was hilarious. It was like, it was obviously just a joke to, use the name 2.0. And it's just like, some people take social media way too seriously. Oh my God. It was
I know somebody commented on the tweet too. It's like, wow, those losers actually have a fan. And I literally just left it alone because I was just like, you're trying to work yourself into a shoot, brother. Like, what are we doing here?
He wants a piece. He wants a piece, as they would say. You want a piece? Yeah. Let me just let you know.
You want a taste?
You want a taste? 2.0 went from never getting a title shot, barely being used on NXT, to being the most legitimate world champions in professional wrestling. They are the BTE world champion. Okay? The most legitimate title in professional wrestling. They own it already. I'm just saying.
And if you don't think they have tag team titles in their site, you be lying to yourself.
They are incredibly entertaining men that I did not understand. And this will be the first time and the last time I say the company's name. I thought they were built for the WWE.
Just that video that came out from FanFest when the one kid was trying to swing on, I can't remember if it was Matt or Jeff. He was trying to get both in one shot. And they were just literally calling for security and being like, this kid's crazy, man. I like him. You want to join 2.0? Or you're probably a fan of Darby Allen or something, right? That's just perfectly playing along with this kid, keeping it alive for him. And they were in full character and they were doing great. This is the perfect guy you would want.
I mean, this is a WWE tag team. You put them with a lower heel, and they're kind of his goons that get beat up. You could put them with Randy Orton. And, and they just take the beating for Randy Orton, and then they do funny stuff in the back. I was just like, how are these dudes not used? They are fucking hilarious. And it's like, every segment they're in, no matter how much of a BS segment or how much you're going to beat them up, they entertain in their spot. And it's just like, how could a company not use them? I'm not saying they needed to be your tag team champions. I'm just saying, shit, you could have used them in the 24/7 thing to make people laugh. I just don't understand how people this entertaining were available.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. But to all the marks that got upset at my tweet, man,
yeah, we still love you.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. I forgive you. But this match between Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley versus 2.0 was a nice, solid way to finishing off the show. It was a nice tag match between two guys that people absolutely love, and 2.0, who's been steadily growing themselves in AEW and has done great work, and this was really, really good. Kingston and Moxley would get the win. Suzuki's music comes out, and it hits, and they did make sure they addressed the Suzuki incident, so let's not be afraid of that. Let's be very clear. Like, Punk addressed it on the show, and the rest of the company addressed it. It was addressed.
It was a canon. It's canon now.
It's canon now. Yeah.
The reason that Suzuki and Archer are wrestling Moxley and Kingston at New York,
they were disrespected
because of the Suzuki incident. Literally a mishap. They built it into a match. That is what this company does. Come on.
So good. It's so good. Like, it literally trended on Twitter, and people and the company saw it and they went along with it. It was just great. So they come out, and Moxley and Archer pull each other out. Like, as Suzuki comes in, they immediately come out, and then they just start fighting in the crowd again. Moxley and Suzuki and Kingston and Archer. So we teased for that match, and this was the closing moment of AEW Dynamite, and it was a hell of a show. It was really good, and we like it like, just the fact of everything that we got announced for next week for Grand Slam was just like
this was an epic go home show for the next Dynamite.
For what would be basically a pay-per-view level Dynamite and Rampage.
Yes, absolutely.
But we'll move on now to AEW Rampage for the week. We had Ricky Starks actually on commentary with Jericho, Excalibur, and Taz. Thought that was an interesting little thing. And he did fine enough, I think. But we kicked things off with the AEW Tag Team Championship match between the Lucha Brothers and the Butcher and the Blade. This is a really good match. I think Butcher and Blade do really great heel tag team wrestling stuff. The Lucha Bros are so good, and they fit so well with those tag titles around their waist. And this was a good match for them to have as their first defense. Having Butcher and Blade return and try to get the tag team championships in their first match back, I think is really cool. And it's a nice little Hardy Family Office like high spot for them to be in. But Lucha Bros would retain in a really strong matchup. After the match was over, Private Party comes down and jumps the Lucha Bros as well as other members of the Hardy Family Office. But then Santana and Ortiz come down for the save for Penta and Phoenix, which I thought was actually really cool of how these two, who have had matches and have had a rivalry that has lasted a very, very long time, were actually had a bit of a truce, it seems like. So this was a nice little moment. But yeah, great way to kick off AEW Rampage in this match.
Yeah, I have talked about Santana Ortiz, Proud and Powerful, whatever you want to call them, not being positioned in the championship picture, and how, that's bad. And then the Lucha Bros won the titles, and, my eyes, started seeing stars, and with excitement, I got delirious. And then they came down to the ring, and if you know basic wrestling storytelling, you know how this alliance ends.
Not well.
Not well. And hopefully at full gear in a fight.
Yeah, and then we get to see this rivalry reignited, and it's going to be awesome. But we then had Anna Jay coming down with Ty Conti facing off against the Bunny in singles competition. And this was also a good match. Anna Jay being back, I think, has been great, and having her really try and get some wins to, I would think, build her up for a women's title match eventually is good. She's the one person in the Dark Order that, like, people are really, like, all members are just trying to, like, appease despite the whole falling apart. And having Tay Conti by her side is also great. And I also do enjoy Penelope Ford being aligned with the Bunny. I think is a really nice pairing. And Penelope Ford was going to get involved, but Tay Conti gets pulled down, and The bunny was going to use the brass knuckles. Actually, no, Penelope Ford was going to use that after the match. She gets rolled up and then pinned by Anna. After the match, Penelope Ford was going to use the pair of brass knuckles and she used it on Tay Conti and Anna Jay. So they got the last laugh in this one. But this was a good, nice follow-up match. I think it's good to get Anna Jay more time on the show because I think they're really trying to grab her wins and get her some more wins under her belt. And I like Allie and the Bunny as a heel. I think they do really good. And having Penelope Ford involved with it too, actually, I think is a nice pairing. So this was good.
Yeah, this was really good. And 99, a.k.a. Anna Jay, like I said, I know they're probably going to do something different, but I want her to be in the Dark Order. But they seem to be revving back up into the kind of the women coupling up. Maybe we're getting ready for another tag team tournament. Maybe it could happen on the boat. Maybe it could, just something for Dynamite. It looks like they're kind of pairing up. So I've always liked TJ as a team, even though they were just kind of put together for the last tournament. And the Bunny and Allie, the Bunny and Penelope, both blonde thing. They got that going on. It's a nice little feud to go, move forward, both groups forward. And it looks like Anna might be coming out as a star. So I love this whole segment. I loved what they got planning for them. Because, I always say wrestling, it's not about the main storyline going on. It's about everything else. Why am I continuing to watch other than the main storyline? This is a great undercard storyline.
Yeah. And then we had Matt Hardy and Jack Evans from Hardy Family Office. So we had 3 segments in a row with Hardy Family Office involved. And Matt was very mad because of the fact that his team was 0-2 today. But he's like, you know what? I'm having the last laugh because there's a fan that's dressed up as Orange Cassidy. He's pissing me off. So he proceeds to grab the fan, bring him over the barricade, slam him into the ring, and start shaving his head with Jack Evans pulling out a pair of trimmers. Orange Cassidy comes out, and they clear the ring. And Matt Hardy really wants to shave Orange Cassidy's head. And also, OC, you probably could have come a little bit faster to help that fan's hair. You really kind of fucked him over by not showing up a little bit faster.
Yeah, he walked very, very, very slow. But I guess him running kind of goes against who he is as a person. So, I don't know. That was just like...
Plus, he doesn't know that guy.
Yeah, that was my thought process. It's like maybe he needed a haircut. Maybe it was his time, And Orange Cassidy was like...
His wife really was just like, dude, get this guy a haircut. Like, just any way you can get him a haircut, dude. Just do it now.
Do it now. Yeah.
His hair is nappy and it smells.
Yes, that is... Yeah, that's... Hey, I would not be shocked if that's how it went down.
Yeah. But... Yeah, I think the segment's fine. It teases the match with OC and Matt Hardy where Orange Cassidy's hair is going to be on the line. And this will be the nice, I think, closer for this feud between Matt Hardy and Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, it's definitely... I am looking forward to how they do like a hair versus hair match. And I just think it's just such a big moment. It's not really done a lot. So I kind of want to see where it leads to.
Yes. We then had probably the top moment of the show, which was the face-off between AEW World Women's Champion, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Ruby Soho. First off, Britt Baker was like, "Hey, Ruby, welcome to some TV time." And they go back and forth, and like, "How many times, Ruby, have you changed your name in the last year? You're so desperately trying to fit in, but here everyone knows who I am." Ruby responds, "Of course they know, because you shove it down their throats, and I know you're not accustomed to being told that you're wrong, but you're wrong. I know who I am. I haven't had the freedom to prove it." Shot. But he's like, "All right, Britt, let's talk about you. On the surface, you're just like every broad that I've stepped in the ring with, entitled, self-centered, and banging some dude in the back." Another shot. And it turns out you're just that. But I'm just trying to figure out if there's anything more to Britt Baker. And Britt Baker responds like, "Why are you lying to everyone, including yourself? You actually have the audacity to call yourself the runaway. You didn't run away from anything. You got fired." And Ruby was like, "Yeah, And it was the best damn thing that happened to me because it brought me here to AEW, looking at you, and he's like snapping. He's like, over here, look right at me. And I know you want I want you to look into my eyes, but it probably must be hard because your head's so far up Tony Khan's ass. And she goes, call yourself all these nicknames, but next week at Dynamite, I'm going to beat your ass in New York City, take your title. And the one thing you won't be able to call yourself is AEW Women's Champion. Britt tries to hit her with the belt, doesn't work, dodges it, and yeah, that was the end of the segment.
This took, I'd say a warm feud. A warm feud. Let's call it a warm feud, and turned it scorching hot.
Yes.
I wouldn't say, it was casually into it. I was like, oh, this is a good first feud with Ruby getting in. She's gonna, as we look forward and past this. But good Lord, this was some barbs. And this was I think one of the first really good women's promo sessions in AEW. Like this segment was it stood on its own and it made them featured. It worked in every way it was supposed to.
Yeah, I absolutely love this segment. I will kind of present a different side because I saw this going around a little bit and I want to get Floyd's thoughts on this because I saw some people who did not like this segment talking about how, oh, look, we have a women's promo where one of the big jabs is like, oh, you're fucking some dude. So bringing it back to a guy being a center. And then also someone said that this promo and this back and forth had so much insider lingo that people are not going to know what the hell's going on. So I'll go to Floyd and I'll say my thoughts on it too. But I just wanted to present those things.
I think that's kind of a sexist thought because I remember I think Adam Cole, I think someone said on NXT that he wasn't as over as his girlfriend and no one said anything. So yeah. Is it just not okay for women, but it's okay for men? That's it. No. I'm just saying. I've heard it, and I've heard this before, and it's just everybody's dating everybody. She's dating him. And people are dating, and it's if you can't use real life, people are gonna say it's fake, and if you use real life, oh, that's too low. And it's just it almost feels like you're damned if you do or damned if you don't. It's so I'm just saying, go out and try to entertain. Ruby, Jabrut Baker is nuclear hot. DMD is probably one of the most over things in AEW, right? She's super hot. Ruby's the new person that came in that had just gotten fired. She has to even the conversation in some way. I just find it as good storytelling. But
yeah, and she got a great reaction.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's just what else does she say to a person that's literally been undefeated since? And now you can't count the Thunder Rosa match because that was unsanctioned. So she's been undefeated for a year. What do you say to that person? You try to lower them in another way. And I think men would do the same thing. You know what I mean? So it's just stop trying so hard out there. Stop. Someone tweeted out that you can watch wrestling, and if you want to find a problem with the show, you can. No matter whatever show you're watching, you can find a problem. And if you want to focus on what's good, you can. It's all just wrestling. And I just think that is the perfect response to this. If you want to have a problem with what she said, you can. Go for it. I can't tell you. I don't share your experiences, so maybe I'm less sensitive to it than another person would be. So I leave that out there, but I just choose to say it was a killer promo with some good old jabs. MJF called the chick Methany, and I believe she really did have a drug problem in real life. People kind of shrugged their shoulder and moved on. So does it only work one way?
Yeah, I wanted to bring those thoughts up just to put them out there. I still think this segment killed. I think Ruby is like so finding herself in AEW, and I think she's got such a bright future in this company. Britt Baker is still on top of the women's division, just taking shots and doing great stuff. This feud is just ignited into a thing that people really want to see. From like, it's going to be cool to see that they want to see this match. So
Every feud is better when it's personal.
Yeah, and again, like the conversation of just like, oh, it's so much insider knowledge that people aren't going to know what's going on. It's like, bro, it's like everyone at this point has insider knowledge, at least a little bit. And like, they already know it's not real. So like saying like, oh, she got TV time. Like people know what the fuck that means. And, oh, she was in developmental or whatever, saying these lines. Like people have an idea of what you're talking about to begin with. It's like, sure, they may not get the immediate joke because they're not like in the weeds of everything like most fans. Yeah. But like, even fans that think they know everything don't know as much as they say they do. So
yeah, and like, Adam Cole brought it up first with the Tony Schiavone thing.
Yeah,
this is common knowledge at the point that the two people are dating. She does his moves, he does her moves.
It's been talked about before. So yeah, it's like if like no wrestling show is perfect, and like Floyd said, if you want to complain about something, you can find something to complain about. It's whether or not you let the positives outweigh the negatives. In some shows, negatives outweigh positives, and that's why you don't watch. But if a show outweighs positive over negative, you have a tendency to just like see the negatives and be like, sure, that can be an issue, but like everything else has just been way too good.
Yeah, I was like, saw somebody was telling, it was an article, the problems with AEW, and for just shits and giggles, I clicked on it, right? And they had legitimate problems, and I would say legitimate thoughts. I had never even considered any of them. Like, too many people doing the same moves and all that stuff. And I'm just like, and just using real sports analogies, right? Everybody does a fadeaway, right? Like a fadeaway in basketball, right? But there's a difference between Michael Jordan's fadeaway and LeBron James's fadeaway, right?
Yeah.
Or Tim Hardaway's crossover and Allen Iverson's crossover. They're both doing crossovers, but they're different. And Aaron Rodgers throws the best back shoulder ball in the NFL. Do other quarterbacks throw a back shoulder ball? Yes. But Aaron Rodgers throws the best. So yes, everybody throws a super kick. But the Young Bucks super kicks are better than everybody else's. You know what I mean? Everybody throws a Canadian Destroyer, but Petey Williams' Canadian Destroyer is better than everybody else's. Everybody else does a cutter, but Randy's RKO is the most dangerous move in professional wrestling. And I think anybody with a modicum of intelligence can say, the difference in effect between one person doing it and another person doing it. So I'm just like, yeah, and in my brain, it fixed that way. But other people's like, they don't see it that way. So I'm just, the point is, you can find a problem or not find a problem if you want to. AEW is, to me, like 90% enjoyable. There are probably 10% of things I don't like, but I don't focus on that because, 90%'s an A,
Yeah. That's really it. Main event time, though, for AEW Rampage. It's the TNT title match between the champion, the Redeemer, Miro, versus Fuego del Sol. Fuego's car is on the line. This was another good match. I mean, it's a rematch of a match that we've already seen. We've seen Miro and Fuego go after each other for the TNT title, and it was good. I think it was a nice, fine way to cap off the show. Does kind of take away from it a little bit because we've already seen this match before, but I didn't have an issue with it. It was still good. Fuego is still entertaining as hell. Miro is still an incredible TNT champion. Honestly, the only thing that really got me crazy hyped, because I enjoyed this and it was good, but I'd seen it before, so I had a little bit less attachment to it. Thing that got me hyped was that when Miro won the title and proceeded to take the keys to the car, Fuego's car, and shove him in his mouth and then put him in the game over submission again. The Spanish God, Sammy Guevara, runs down and saves his friend and then hoists up the TNT Championship. For the love of God, get that title on Sammy. I want it so fucking bad.
And you gotta man, this shows you so much. There's so many things I can go. Fuego's now a member of the roster. Miro gave him a lot in this match. This match was damn near 50-50. And then Fuego makes the key mistake and Miro beats him. And then he attacks him after the match. And, of course, which is established canon, Fuego and Sammy G, best friends. So just Sammy G comes out there and walks. And then he happens to see the title. So you're going into the next feud. That's one thing. Second thing, Inner Circle. Sammy and Santana and Ortiz have basically been having Jericho's back for like the last 2 years, and Jericho's been featured. Who's starting to be featured now? This is why they were with Jericho. Jericho was giving them a rub. Jericho was getting to people to where they see them as main eventers, as larger than life. And now Jericho's gone on a side quest with, to use a video game term, a side quest with the Men of the Year and America's Top Team. And now it's time for Sammy and Ortiz and Santana to be featured in the title picture, with Santana and Ortiz looks like they're eventually going after the tag belts, and Sammy Guevara at the end of the night holding the TNT belt in his hand. So it looks like we're going to Sammy G versus Miro. I don't know when they're going back to Texas, but I feel like this match has to happen in Texas. Now, it might happen in Full Gear, or it might happen somewhere else, but I just think they're so good at picking the right time for matches to happen. This is just me nodding AEW, telling them how great they are once again. They're so good at picking the right time. Like, Britt's right time was Double or Nothing. Sammy's right time. Sammy is a god in Texas. So it's just like, it seems like that's where the belt has to change. I don't even know if they're scheduled to go to Texas again, but that would just be epic.
Yeah, I think it being in Texas would be huge, but I mean this with 100% certain sincerity. I think Sammy Guevara is so good, and he's done such great stuff in the Inner Circle versus Pinnacle feuds. He's done great stuff with his little feud against MJF. I've loved what Sammy's been doing. He's grown. He grew from when AEW started. I kind of saw him as like the whole panda gimmick I didn't understand, and just his. Felt like there was some missing thing to him.
He was the pin eater for the Inner Circle.
Yeah, I know he was the pin eater at that point in time. Yeah, and I knew that he would get there to being a popular star, but I didn't think I would have such a big connection to really liking Sammy, and I think. Him moving away from when he had to leave Jericho and the Inner Circle because of what MJF was doing, I thought that was great. I just loved his matches that he had against Shawn Spears. Just every time I saw him, I liked him more and more and more. And him as TNT champion, I think would be fucking great. So I don't know if they'll go with this, honestly. Miro's been such a great dominant champion that I don't know if they'll have Sammy be the one that takes him down. I could firmly believe that he wouldn't be the guy to take him down. But just seeing him hold that title, man, I want it so bad in my life. So I'm hoping it happens, but I'm keeping my expectations in check, though. But Sammy is a fucking man, and I really, really hope it comes through. But that was AEW Rampage, and that whole week of Rampage and Dynamite, which was a really great week of AEW wrestling, or just all elite wrestling, since AEW wrestling would I'm saying the same thing twice. Regardless, moving on. That was a really great week of all elite wrestling, but we have this Grand Slam week that we have to get to. So we're gonna.
This is our predictions. So I'm just gonna let you know I have not read forward. I don't subscribe to any insiders other than Dave Meltzer, but he hasn't really said anything.
And I subscribe to none of it.
So this is me just giving you my guesses. This is not a spoiler in any way. I'm guessing. And if you've listened to the show, you know some of my guesses are fucking outrageous. That's what you're about to get. So let's go.
All right. MJF versus Brian Pillman first on the Dynamite side. I will go with Brian Pillman Jr. I don't think this will be a long feud. I think this feud should shouldn't be too long because I think MJF can do a lot more outside of this. I think MJF turned the heat on this feud instantaneously just by starting it, and I think Brian Pillman getting the win is the right move on this part. So Brian Pillman Jr. I think goes up on MJF.
They do a great job in AEW of booking to your slotting. MJF is basically a main eventer as far as the slotting. He does not lose very often. He just lost to Jericho. He cannot lose this feud, so I think he beats Brian Pillman Jr.
All right. FTR versus Darby Allen and Sting. Now, Darby Allen and Sting together have been like really freaking good. FTR, though, building up a little bit of steam, but is still not considered to be like, not even that they're not considered to be tag team material, champion material, because they have been and they are. But I think I'm going to go with Allen and Sting on this one, just because I think that team is just way too, I don't know. I think there's just way too much stock in Darby Allen and Sting. I don't know why. I just have a feeling for it.
I feel like this is leading to something bigger. I truly do. I think bigger in a few more people or whatever. Maybe Sting and Darby bring someone else in. I don't know. But I think Sean Spears interferes and FTR wins.
All right.
And that's only reason is to extend the feud. I think this is going to be a longer feud that ends at Full Gear in some way.
All right. We then have Ruby Soho versus Britt Baker for the AEW Women's World Title. It's Ruby Soho's first match. Even though I think it's a wild move, I think they give it to Ruby.
This is her second match, actually, because she did wrestle Jamie Hayter.
She did do Jamie Hayter, yeah.
Yes, but matches in New York. Her last name Soho. I'm going to go with Britt Baker. She's the hottest female wrestler in the world right now. I think, booking malpractice to take the belt off Britt Baker right now.
Yeah, that's the one I feel the least confident in. But I just have Ruby Soho.
But yeah, because she's Ruby Soho, New York. It all fits. It's a great win. But no, I even can see it being some kind of crappy finish where it extends the feud. Now, and that's my WWE brain. I'll tell you that right there. That's how I would do it, but I don't know. Britt Baker's so hot right now with the DMD thing. I just think it would be extinguishing it too early.
And that's a perfectly great point, and I think that's probably the best point you can make. I think I'm just going with the upset of Ruby Soho in this one. Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black. It's Cody. He's getting his win back.
Okay. So, based on my conversation in person with Stephen Amell, I think Stephen Amell turns on Cody, and Malachi Black wins, leading to a built-up feud of Stephen Amell versus Cody Rhodes at Full Gear. So
there's his craziness right there.
Yeah, I am picking Malachi Black to win so he can move on from this feud with Cody, and Cody will go into a feud with Stephen Amell, who will be playing a heel, which is what he plays on his TV show, Synergy.
All right. Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega, singles match. How's that going to go? I say Bryan Danielson. Because it's not for the title. It's his first match in AEW. Yes. Bryan Danielson beats Kenny Omega. First match in.
I'm calling a draw. I'm calling a time limit draw.
A 30-minute draw or something?
It's going to be 20 minutes because it's not for the title. And the standard match in AEW is 20 minutes. I'm calling a draw.
God damn, that would be huge, actually. I would love that if that happens.
That builds the invitation. With these two, I wouldn't give a clear winner unless you're paying for it on pay-per-view.
Yeah, and Bryan Danielson would be the kind of person that would want to do like a draw like that.
20-minute draw, best wrestlers in the world, and they tie. And that builds to Kenny Omega not being able to accept that he couldn't beat Bryan Danielson and maybe getting a title match later. Yeah.
And then the CM Punk interview will be the best part of the show. Okay, Anna Jay, Penelope Ford kicking things over to Rampage. I think Anna Jay is still really building up a head of steam, so Anna Jay, I think, will get the win.
I agree, Anna Jay.
All right, CM Punk versus Will Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs. I'm not voting against CM Punk. You can't make me vote against CM Punk, so I pick CM Punk.
No, see, I mean, it would be a nice feather in the hat for Hobbs, and I think it should definitely be a competitive match where he looks really, really strong. But CM Punk is your biggest figure. It's like when Jericho first started AEW. He can't lose now. He just can't. It's just, like I said, there's too much money in CM Punk for him to lose right now.
100%. Jericho and Jake Hager versus the Men of the Year. I really, really need the Men of the Year to win this match. Like, absolutely need the Men of the Year to win this match.
I mean, if they don't win, you might as well just get rid of the...
Just like throw Dan Campbell in the trash bag and then just toss him out to the side of the road.
Yeah.
Because then you've just wasted all of his talking that he just played out there for you.
No, and I imagine somebody from America's Top Team gets involved. I don't know if anybody who can get physical because a lot of them are under contract, but there is going to be someone getting physical to help Men of the Year win. But you've been building them up for 4 or 5 weeks now with the Daniel Lambert. If they lose their first match, just get rid of them. There's no reason for Dan Lambert to show up next week.
Yeah. Excuse me. Super Click versus Christian and Jurassic Express. It's going to be the Super Click. Young Bucks lost their titles, and Adam Cole is still like unbelievably huge in AEW, so you don't want to take that away too much. I would give this to the Super Click.
I have been hearing rumors of a 6-man tag title coming down the path. Who would make a better first 6-man tag champions than the Super Click? Adam Cole, baby. So, I think they win, definitely.
All right. Lucha Bros and Proud and Powerful versus the Hardy Family Office, Butcher and Blade, and Private Party. I say Hardy Family Office because I don't think Proud and Powerful is going to be able to not work the best with the Lucha Bros. I just don't think so.
I'm going Hardy Family Office, and I think they're going to just do the whole old school miscommunication, and that's what's going to cause them to lose.
Suzuki and Archer versus Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. I want Suzuki and Archer to win this match, so I'm just going to pick Suzuki and Archer. I just want them to win.
All right, so where's the show?
The show's in Queens.
And
I know who's from New York.
If this does, again, booking malpractice if Eddie Kingston...
But I said Ruby Soho. I'm turning back on my argument because I want Suzuki to win. That's just it. So, I make no sense with my predictions, too.
Yes. Booking malpractice if Lance Archer doesn't take the backhand and Eddie Kingston gets the pin. It's just, that's how it has to go.
Yes. So that's our little preview of AEW Grand Slam week, which is going to be fucking nuts. So, yeah. So much so that our headlines and our little news notes that we want to get to, we'll actually talk about those AEW Dynamite and Rampage shows. So what do we got for that?
So both of the shows are 2 hours. You are getting 4 hours of wrestling this week. So basically, minus the commercials, you are getting the average length of a pay-per-view. You will get 3 hours of wrestling this week. So including, picture in picture, you probably run into 3 hours, 20 minutes or something like that. So yeah, both are 2 hours. So make sure 9 to 11 or 10 Eastern to midnight on Friday. You tell your boys that you're going to be out a little bit late. You tell your girls that it's going to have to wait because you're going to be watching the wrestling Wednesday. And then Wednesday, you get 2 hours. You get 2 hours of some of the best professional wrestling in the world. And honestly, you'll be so late on Friday night after that, you'll probably just be able to turn it on New Japan and start watching the G1. So,
really?
Yes.
Really?
So, you get 2 hours of SmackDown. 2 hours, you get 2 hours of SmackDown. Then you get 2 hours of AEW. Then if you a New Japan fan, you can watch an hour of Strong. That's 5 hours. Then you'll get the G1 show, which is another 2.5 hours. Friday night, could just get your boys together, pull your money, get some snacks, and watch wrestling for like 7 hours.
Yeah, so enjoy.
Yeah, so enjoy. We also got the announcement today from Fightful Select that's been confirmed from many fronts and also from Fightful Select that The Full Gear will be taking place on November 13th, live from the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
The venue has been announced?
Fightful Select put that out a minute ago or whatever, that it's going to be the Target Center.
All right, there you go.
So me, being my infinite wisdom, I had booked a hotel close to the Target Center and a hotel and a hotel close to the other place. I was just waiting for them to pick one. So they picked the Target Center. So we will be in the building for that. I'm very excited about that. Minneapolis, Minnesota has always been on my bucket list. I kind of heard rumors that WrestleMania was going to be there because they have the new football field, and that never happened. I've always wanted to go to the Mall of America. Again, great, I tell people I'm old, so I still dig malls. So we are literally going a day early so we can spend a whole day at the Mall of America.
Yes. As someone who's been to Minnesota, and like if I was to choose a place to like live and then just like stay, honestly, I would pick Minneapolis. I just like Minnesota. I think it's a really cool place. Mall of America is dope. Buy me a Vikings jersey while you're there to cry into, because it's going to be a really, really hard season on my boy.
I forgot that you root somehow for Minnesota and Detroit, which is the weirdest thing ever.
It's just because of the way I was raised. Not even the way I was raised, just because of like, I don't know. I just played as them in ESPN NFL 2K5. I played as the Vikings because I like their colors. And also they also had a really, really fucking good offense. So
catch a beat running like Randy Moss. You know what I mean?
And yes, and lest we forget Dante Culpepper, who I have a signed helmet from. So
yes, he's awesome.
Yeah, so it's weird to root for two teams in the same division. I will fully admit that, but I still do it, and I will continue to do it.
All right, the last piece of news from the week. This was big and pretty polarizing from both sides. AEW and the Owen Hart Foundation enter in a relationship to honor world-renowned wrestler Owen Hart's legacy. This is the press release. AEW and the Owen Hart Foundation, a nonprofit charity which provides a vast range of assistance and opportunities to individuals in need across the world, are collaborating to honor the legacy of the late wrestler Owen Hart, a beloved figure in professional wrestling community and beyond. The collaboration includes launching the annual Owen Hart Cup tournament within AEW, which will see the winner receive a cup known as the Owen, and as the production distribution of unique and original Owen Hart merchandise, including specified retail goods, as well as the upcoming AEW console video game. So Owen Hart will be a playable character in the AEW console video game. He will, Jeremy Padawar from Jazzwares today said he will have a figure of Owen Hart. It looks like they're going in on the business of Owen Hart. Before I talk about the controversy along it, what do you think about that, sir?
This alone, this was a statement that I never thought would come from AEW. We've all seen Dark Side of the Ring. We've all seen the Owen Hart story, and we know how tragic it is, and like how Owen Hart's legacy has really just been kept alive by the fans that really like respected and loved Owen Hart. And when it came to pro wrestling companies, like it kind of was just like not really touched. And Dark Side of the Ring, Chris Jericho works on the show. They did really good by Owen Hart's family and his wife, and they really showcased him in a great light. And Owen Hart's family has 100% shown why they do not want Owen's legacy to be included in the WWE Hall of Fame. They have agreed to this, and I think this just works well for both parties, because I think Owen Hart is one of those wrestlers that is just no one can really say anything bad about him, and I think it's just because he showed himself to be just a stand-up guy and a great wrestler at that, and like just something that should have never happened, and it was horrifying. And look, I think having a tournament dedicated to him is great. It just really works for that. Him being in the video game is something that I never thought would happen. But you know what? That's fucking cool to begin with. And I'm sure with the merchandise and the retail goods, there's no way that the Owen Hart Foundation doesn't like get in on this as well. Why else would it be partnered with them if they were going to be doing it? So it's not like they're not going to be supported with all of these retail decisions and stuff like that. And they were already selling t-shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees for Owen Hart. So it's not like he hadn't been merchandised before. So this, I have no issue with this. I think this is great. Owen Hart was trending on Twitter like crazy. Seeing Owen Hart's name out there and being such a positive force in pro wrestling, I'm 100% for. And I think the controversy is unbelievably overblown.
All right. So there's been controversy on both sides. One side is the people saying, I can't believe AEW is doing more for the Hart family than WWE. Pause. She didn't want anything to do with the WWE. She's made that clear on it. It wasn't for the lack of WWE trying. She wanted nothing to do with WWE. So please don't try to make this like WWE's the bad guy in this situation. They are in some ways, but I'm just saying it wasn't because they didn't want to honor Owen Hart. So don't act like that. The other side of it is I can't believe AEW is like basically taking advantage of this situation. I am all for anything that honors Owen Hart. Owen Hart, growing up, he was the little brother. I'm the little brother in my family. He was the little brother in his family. And so I always quietly rooted for Owen Hart, the Nugget, the Blue Blazer. He was just altogether great athlete, entertaining wrestler. So I'm all for that. I don't see this as exploitative all the time because they're working with a nonprofit organization to honor Owen Hart, and they've done it. When wrestlers die that never worked for AEW, they honored them on the show. When they were in Memphis, they honored the legends of Memphis wrestling. This has been on brand for AEW since they started. So it's not like they're doing something outside of their business practices to help Owen Hart. And what are you going to say?
Oh, and I was going to say, it's not like they haven't done anything with the Hart family before. Bret Hart literally debuted the AEW World Championship.
And the only reason Bret Hart doesn't work with AEW more because he said he didn't want to affect Natalia's career. That was the only reason he doesn't work with them more. My boys, FTR, I mean, they're the biggest Bret Hart marks I've ever heard of. They think he's the greatest they ever do it, and that's amazing. So, of course, by naturally, I love Bret Hart. But I've always loved Bret Hart. But it's just, you're working with the Hart family. You're giving to this foundation that's a nonprofit organization. You have a department in your company called AEW Community that serves this exact purpose. To me, this is a win-win for all around. If I'm the WWE, I'm completely supportive of this. If I'm anyone in there, I am completely supportive of this. Not just because it's AEW, because it's a person that a lot of wrestlers love. Kevin Owens named his kid after Owen Hart. So this is just perfect. I'm glad they honored it. I hate that people are trying to make this an AEW versus WWE thing because that's not what it's about. It's about the honoring the legacy of a great wrestler and, from everything I've heard, an even better human.
Yeah, so we can just dead that conversation right then. But there's really nothing bad you can say about this. And that's the other thing too, is that like WWE wants the legacy of Owen Hart to be remembered. That's why they've always said they would put him in the Hall of Fame if it wasn't for the fact that the family doesn't want him to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. So respect their wishes. If WWE really didn't respect what the Owen Hart's family wanted to do and what the Hart family wanted to do, they would put him in the Hall regardless of what they said.
Because they own the likeness. They own the name. And not the name Owen Hart because it's his real name, but all the gear that he wore there, all his matches. Yeah. They could make an Owen Hart video and sell it if they wanted to. They have done nothing basically against the wishes of Martha. It's like they have a contentious relationship. But when it comes to honoring Owen Hart, in this case, I'm not talking about anything else, just honoring Owen Hart. They're not the bad guy, and I don't know why people need to make this controversial or adversarial. Just think of it as awesome that we're celebrating a great wrestler. It just doesn't get to happen that often.
Exactly. And yeah, that's really it. But those are remaining headlines to be talking about, and I think that'll wrap it up on this episode of All Things Elite. There's so much going on in AEW, it's hard to keep track of, but we really appreciate you guys sticking with us and listening to the podcast and having us go through everything and kind of geek out about everything, because I don't think we can express how much we just have been loving what AEW has been doing recently. But once again, guys, continue to download this show on Google or Apple Podcasts. If you listen to us on Spotify or anything else, share us with your friends, family, coworkers, whoever you wish. Leave a rating and a review. Leave a donation through Red Circle. On Twitter, we are at AT Elite Pod. At Social Suplex make this show possible, so check out all their other shows. I am at Austin Szumowicz, SZUMOWICZ. Floyd is at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. And before we get into Grand Slam next week, I will let Floyd take us home for this week's episode of All Things Elite.
In the 2021, our year of our existence, the man called Sting took a spike pile driver from FTR. 62-year-old Sting. I never thought I'd just be able to say that sentence. So I'm just talking about how awesome that the time that we're living in. I saw a really, and I don't think I say this very often, saw a really good episode of Raw last night. The New Japan G1 started this weekend. Go out of your way to find Tomohiro Ishii versus Shingo Takagi. Oh my God, that match was a banger. But, and then there was Tanahashi versus Okada. Another great match. They just do what they do. ROH had Death Before Dishonor. On Impact, we had Christian setting Josh Alexander chose option C to cash in his X Division title to wrestle Christian at Bound for Glory in October. Wrestling is beautiful and awesome right now, no matter what flavor or channel you choose to watch. It is amazing. Consume as much or as little as you want. Support your friends in what they want. Support the wrestlers. Buy their merch. Do whatever you feel like with it. But this is just a beautiful time to be a wrestling fan. And that's all I can end on, other than say, whether it's home, work, or school, always do your best to be elite.
We did it again. Verizon was just named America's most reliable network by Root Metrics for the 16th time in a row, proving once again that nobody builds networks like Verizon builds networks. That's why we're building 5G right. That's why there's only one best network, Verizon. Best and most reliable based on Root Metrics reports from second half 2013 to first half 2021 of 3 operators on all network types combined, not specific to 5G networks.
Check out the latest footwear innovation from Adidas, the Adizero Adios Pro 2, which features carbon fiber energy rods that are both lightweight and precisely tuned for a more anatomical transition. Everything from the ultra-light polyester upper to the re-sculpted midsole and the reinvented outsoles are designed for speed. Visit adidas.com to learn more today.